All right. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you guys can see this. I see some messages coming through saying, where is the video? Well, it's here. So let's jump into this thing. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting. I'm about 3 minutes behind here. So please forgive me. And go on and tag your coaches on this video and tag. I know a lot of you guys are in different groups that we paired you in so that you could be with other coaches that are around that have the same sort of goals that you do. Go on and tag them too so that they don't feel left out. And let's jump into this thing. I can tell you straight away that a lot of what I'm going to be saying right now is already with the assumption that you want to build something big, that you have some really big goals, and that you, after coming off of the heels of National Convention, are not sort of, you already understand the mission, you love people, and now you have some extremely big goals that you want to reach as a human being. And maybe these goals are things that you want to do for humanity. Maybe they're things that you want to do for yourself, for your families, for loved ones. Maybe these goals is to create legacy, and maybe whatever these things are for you. You know, I was talking to some coaches, and what they're really inspired to do now is to go into underprivileged communities in different countries and help build wells for different neighborhoods. Some coaches now have seen the light and have seen things that they never thought that they can do, but through the influence and through the vehicle of Optavia, they not only believe that it's possible, they're starting to believe that they can do it. So that's exactly what happened to me after my first national convention. I went there as an escape route. I went there looking to escape a failing marriage. That was the only reason why I sat there in Washington, D.C. in 2012. And while I was there, I experienced everything you guys experience. I experienced a community. I experienced people that have an unwavering desire to try to help the world. I experience love and honor. I experience falling in love with my country. I experience, once again, regaining passion and vision and an unwavering desire to create something that was bigger than me. I started to understand that I could, didn't have to forfeit my marriage or my relationship, but that I could actually improve it. I started to see that economically I could start earning and provide a lifestyle that I didn't even know was possible. And I saw that I could do it and do it in a way that could build ultimate freedom. And the freedom that I sought out in my life at that time was just, you know, I was 31 years old, and I said, by the time I'm 42, I want to be ultimately free. A lot of my friends are going to be working until they're 65. I don't want to do that. I want to buy back basically, 24 years of my life. And I know that if I go all in right now, that I could do that, because by the time I'm 42, I can build something and create something so magical and so awesome and so transformational that if I wanted to, I could, leave for a year or two with my son. I only had one child at that time, but this is what I saw. I said, if I wanted to, I could leave with Ezra and still have my business influencing the world. Oh, and that just seemed like a lofty goal to me. I wanted ultimate time freedom. I wanted the ability to impact the lives of millions of people. I wanted that once I got back home from Long Beach, I wanted from Long Beach up to Temple City, California. I wanted everyone in between those cities to be helped. And I wanted it to be because of me. I saw myself filling the Long Beach Convention Center and having it packed. And it was packed because of my influence. So just in 3 days, these are all the things that I thought about when I went into that. And I thought my thoughts were so limited. My belief system was so limited. What I could create was so limited. And just from being there, I started to see a bigger and brighter future and how I could use Optavia as a vehicle to help me not only impact the lives of others, but to help me become free. So I know a lot of you guys are at that point, And so when I went to that national convention, I had 6 clients. And we got back right around the same time, about the 27th or something like that, maybe a few days earlier. And I said by the end of July, I wanted to become executive director. We did that. So you said, how do you become executive director? You only had 6 clients. And by the end of the month, which was only maybe 4, 5, 6 days, 7 days or something like that, how'd you become executive director? Well, I did all the things that I'm about to talk about. I also set my intentions with becoming certified. At that time, I didn't even know I had Dr. A's Habits of Health book. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start getting into the book. At that time, I never placed my own personal orders through my coach, Becky Flamong. I was placing them through my own health coach account. I didn't know that that was against integrity of the company. But when I went to that first national convention, I started to see the integrity of the people. And it was all about doing the right thing, even when people are not watching. And part of doing the right thing for your business is to lead with your health first. And to lead with your health first, there's no better model for your company and for your business than you. And so I started to learn that the most successful coaches were ones that consistently place monthly orders through their business coaches of at least $150 per month. So I stopped placing the orders through myself, and I started placing my orders and Amanda orders through Becky. Now, this was 7 years ago. This is still what we do to this day. So I had all these things that I wanted to do. I wanted to hit executive director. And then my next goal was global director. I never thought about, manager, director, or regional director, or national, none of that stuff. I thought about global director right away because I saw at that first convention that the average global earned about $18,000 a month. And that just so happened to be about how much income I needed to bring in to save my marriage. I thought if I could start earning about $18,000 a month, then it would relieve all the pressure that I was having in all the fights. And the majority of our fights were over income, were over money. I didn't enjoy the career that my wife had, particularly because she would leave for 8 or 9 hours throughout the day, but she didn't make that much money. And that always fell on my shoulders. I felt a lot of stress with that. And that stress, I didn't know how to deal with properly. So we always got into fights. So when I was at convention, I saw all these people were being really, really successful. And it just looked like it wasn't that hard to do. I said, okay, well, if I could hit this thing called global director, then that means I can start earning an income and I never have to worry about what Amanda does for work, because now we're starting to have more than enough. So I started to learn the abundance mindset. So let's jump into this. You guys okay? So I'm going to read off of my list. It's going to give you an opportunity to take notes. I don't have no slides or none of that stuff because I want you guys to pay attention. Okay, so here are basically the 19 steps. These are the things that I did to go from having 6 clients to global director in 8 months after I left my first national convention. You guys ready for this? Okay, step 1, I set my goals. I decided what I wanted to do. I just talked to you guys about that. I knew that my first step, I wanted to get to executive director. I wanted to get certified, and I wanted to start diving into Dr. A's Habits of Health book, at least one chapter a week. And I set my next goal at global director. So I set my goal. I also needed to, as soon as I got home, I got certified. Step 2, I decided that every morning I would look at my back office. Up until that point, I didn't even know I had a back office. I didn't take my business seriously. But now after leaving that convention, I decided that my business is now more important than my job. And so part of that is looking at my back office. I didn't even know at the beginning what the heck I was looking at or what I was looking for. But what I knew was I needed to start treating my business like a business. And nobody would go into their business and not understand the fundamentals of their business. So I started looking at my back office every single day. This was a non-negotiable. This is the first thing that I still do 7 years later. When I wake up, first thing I do is log into my Coach Connect and I look to see where everything is at. Where are the clients at? Where are the coaches at? Where are the numbers at? So that was number 2. You guys got that? So number 3, I heard at convention what it made other coaches successful. And one of the things they mentioned was that they led with their health first. They ordered monthly program orders through their coach. Up until that point, I was not doing that. I was placing the orders through myself, or I was not ordering at all. That is a big no-no for someone. Listen, and I'm talking to everyone assuming you actually want to go reach these goals. Now, if there's anyone that's on here that doesn't really have big goals, or you don't actually want to go reach these goals, then none of these points are for you. But for all of you guys that want to go and chase freedom, I would absolutely recommend that you do every single thing the way that I'm saying to do it right now. If you're not doing it, or if you're fighting me on it, then I would encourage you to look within and ask yourself why. Why is that going on? And why are you making this business harder than it needs to be? Because the great thing about this business, I'm going to talk about my greatest mistakes, but the great thing about this business is if you just follow the tutelage of the people that's been before you, then you'll be successful. But it's when we get into the point of where we start wanting to do our own things, or we just simply decide not to listen, or we're just slow to understand, then it takes a lot longer. It's a lot more frustrating, as it was for me. I'm not saying I didn't do those things. I did that, but I'm just trying to encourage you, don't do the silly things that I did. So number 4, I got a whiteboard. Write that down. I got a whiteboard. As soon as I got back from Washington, D.C., I got a couple huge whiteboards. And I started filling up those whiteboards with the names of the people that I wanted to influence. These were the greatest people that I wanted to influence, that I wanted to reach out to. I didn't explain my headdress. I don't think I did. I was playing with Mila earlier. I forgot that I even had it on. So I got a whiteboard. That's number 4. Use your whiteboard. Number 5, I made a list of everyone I know and had any type of association with, and decided every single person would know about me, why I'm coaching, the stories that I heard, know my story, and daily I would reach out to at least 10 of those people off that list. Now, when I say reach out, I mean I talk to them on the phone or in person. So this means that I was starting a heck of a lot more conversations than 10. This means that I was reaching out to a heck of a lot more people than 10. If my goal was to actually talk either on the phone or in person to 10 people. Does this make sense? So before, I wasn't reaching out to anyone. I was allowing people to come to me. Now I woke up every single day thinking, who can I serve today? This is a really big one. I'd be taking notes on this one a lot. So that list was over 700 people. I still, 7 years later, have not gotten through that full list. It's not because I wasn't diligent about the list, but it's because we meet so many people. There's so many people that are out there. There's so many new people that you meet, and people refer you a lot of people. And so number 5 was important. I had to commit to talking to, voice to voice, on the phone, picking up the phone. I know we chat with a lot of people, but my goal was they need to hear my voice and my heart, my spirit. They got to know my story and why I'm doing this, why I'm coaching. I know that they know a whole bunch of people that I don't know. And until they actually know Jamil's heart and what he's doing and why he's doing it, they're not going to send those people to me. So that's number 5. I truly made a list and started working off that list. It's so simple to do, but people don't do it. Number 6, I stopped looking at Optavia as only a weight loss program and started offering coaching. One of the greatest things that happened to me at that first convention was I got to be roommates with 4 dudes who were not like me. One guy was a personal trainer. He probably had like 6% body fat. So he owned a gym down in Florida. So what he showed me was, and he was so excited about offering Optavia to all of his personal training clients. So what Willie showed me was that, man, this is perfect to offer to people like him. Another guy was a firefighter. He showed me that, man, even firefighters would want to do this. Another guy was a life coach. He showed me that, man, even life coaches would do it, right? So even after I talked to Jerry, the life coach, I wrote down the names of my friends who are life coaches. One of those friends went to Temple City High School with me. Her name's Shireen Baltis. So while I was in DC, I messaged Shireen and I said, hey, when I get back to California, I want to drive up to Venice Beach and let's have lunch. There's something I want to share with you. I just met this dude who does what you do. Now he's doing what I do and he's blowing up. So before July was even over, I was in Venice Beach talking to Shireen. That day, she signed up as a client and a coach. A couple of days later, her sister Valerie signed up as a client. You see how that happens? You see how that happens? That was before July was even over. So what those men in that room showed me was this isn't a weight loss program. This is a program to help people reach their dreams and their goals. All I need to do is figure out what's missing in their life. Another guy who I offered coaching to was a man named David Musa. I played football with him. David was a personal trainer and he trained athletes. Well, after I talked to Willie, I wrote down names of people who reminded me of Willie, and David was one of them. So while I was there, I reached out to David. I said, "Hey, man, I know we played football together. Last year we played football together was like 2001. This was 2012. I haven't really even talked to this dude in like 11 years, but he came to my mind. And so definitely by the end of August, David was a client and a coach. See how that happened? So I stopped looking at this as only a weight loss program. Same thing with firefighters. Number 7, social media. Before convention, I was scared to put myself out there. I was too worried about what other people would think about me. What would they say? How would they view me? Now, after convention, I decided that I would post at least one before and after picture per day, at least. And at that time, I had my profile on private too. Now I decided to open up my life because I decided that my life, one of the reasons why I was here was so that my life could touch and influence other people's lives, everyone's life. And what I was doing was closing myself off to the opportunity to help bless other people. And so I took all my privacy notices off, and I understood that if I actually do more, now I could actually serve more people. So I started posting a heck of a lot more. I started posting at least 4 times a day. And I always posted right before 6 a.m. Always, always, always. And what I started doing was I started planning my posts the night before. And generally that first post was a before and after post. And I would plan what I was going to say on it. And I would even plan on who I was going to target with it. So for example, if I knew I was going to post, a before and after picture, an African-American woman who's middle age and have lost like 50 pounds, now I'm thinking about the people that's on my list that also fit that profile. So as soon as I would post that, I would go to all of their pages and I would also private message them, and I would start up all these conversations knowing that most likely they're going to go to my page. And then I would ask them, hey, I want to connect. Like, is there a time we can get together for coffee? Can we go for a hike? Like, when can we get together and just catch up? Knowing that part of catching up was going to be me influencing them with my story and the stories of all these other people that I've met. So that was my goal every single day. I needed to physically, in person, or with my mouth, talk to at least 10 people a day. If that was not happening, then I was not fulfilling my mission for that day. That was a wasted day. For at least 36 months, this is what I did. So talk to a lot of people, lots of people. So number 8, I decided to build my own community. At that time, I would say things like, well, my coaches, Becky and Karen, I would say, they don't have a community to plug me into. So I stopped having those little boy ideas and philosophies. I started having big boy, grown men philosophies of, I'm going to start my own community. Why am I going to sit around here and wait for other people to do things that I can do? So I started thinking, okay, so what are some things that I want to do? Well, I like keeping myself in shape. So why don't I start planning hikes? So we started planning a whole bunch of hikes. And what I would do is off my list, I would go off my list and I would invite all these people that I wanted to influence every single week to my hikes. And some people wouldn't go. Some people say, oh, I'm going to go next week. So I would always track that and say, okay, Kim can go next week. Let me hit her up next week. But what I would just work my list and I would try to influence them. Other than the hikes, we started inviting people into our homes for healthy happy hours. Now, a lot of people didn't come at the beginning, but I was diligent every single week. I said, I need to build my community and not wait for Becky and Karen to build a community, but do it my own damn self, right? So that's what I would encourage coaches to do. We have too many coaches waiting around complaining that stuff isn't happening in their area. Why are you waiting? You know, before convention, I would be waiting. After convention, I said, well, I'm going to do it myself. So that's what we started doing. And the community just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that was number 8, build my own communities. I wanted to have an atmosphere to where clients, potential clients, potential coaches and coaches could interact. So we started building our own community. It doesn't take much. It just takes you making a decision and desire to do it and not getting all emotional when people don't show up. Oh my God, somebody showed up to my hike today. You gotta be kidding me. We have to become much, much stronger individuals than that. Oh my God, somebody showed up for my healthy happy hour. I guess I'm just not gonna plan them anymore and quit and complain and all this stuff. We have to be brighter than that. If you want to go and chase freedom, if you don't want to chase freedom, you don't really want to help anyone, then that's fine. You can have those philosophies. But if those things are the things that you really want to do, especially off of the hills of convention, then you have to become much, much emotionally strong. You have to have a ton of emotional fortitude. You can't go back to being all emotional and sad like you were before convention. That's just not going to cut it. So number 9, I decided to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours to my mentor's house out in Moreno Valley. And my idea was, I told Karen, I'm going to sit at your table until you teach me everything that you know. See, before I went to convention, I didn't understand how successful Karen was in this business. I just thought she was like a normal person, right? Because I had access to her whenever I wanted. When I was at convention, what I found was she was pretty darn successful, and I was lucky to have her. And so I had just made a decision that I'm going to allow this woman to coach me and to mentor me, because she was at a place in her life that I desired to be. And she was at a place in her business that I desired to be. I didn't even know where she was in the business before I went to that convention. And then once I started meeting people, I was like, dang, man, like, oh my gosh, like these people I have access to, they're like rock stars, Karen and Kim Fisk. And I was treating them like they didn't know what they were talking about. So I sent her a text and I said, all right, Karen, when can I come to your house? I'm coming over. I brought Amanda and Ezra, and we just sat there and sat there and sat there. I said, teach me everything. I'm not leaving until you teach me everything. And so I made a decision that I was going to get in contact with Karen at least 3 or 4 times a day. I was going to tell her what I was doing, and I was going to ask for suggestions. Now, very important with step number 9, I was going to contact her. What I didn't do was I didn't sit around waiting for Karen to contact me. Please write this down. I, Jamil, was going to contact her and tell her what I was doing and ask for suggestions, or what I was going to do, or what she thought I should do. What I didn't do was sit around and wait for Karen to come contact me. So before convention, I'd be sitting around waiting for her to contact me. After convention, I said, I got to take responsibility to reach out to this woman. She clearly is where I want to be in her business. She should not have to be trying to chase me down. It's up to me to go chase her down. If she lived in a different state, guess what I would do? jump on a plane, get in my car, and go sit where she's at because I wanted my business to look like hers. I did not expect for her to drive out to Long Beach to come sit with me. I said, where are you going to be? I'm going to go meet with you. And I did. And I reached out to her at least 3 or 4 times for at least 24 months, definitely for my first 2 years as a coach. That was a big shift for me. So that's number 9. Number 10, I decided to never again miss an in-person training. Those would be just important to me as my son's birthday. Let me say that again. I decided to never again miss an in-person training. Those were going to be just as important to me as my son's birthday. What I learned at that convention was the best of the best, they didn't miss trainings. They figured it out. They just went. They didn't make excuses for it. They just went. And remember, this business is simple. We allow it to be simple because success leaves clues. All we have to do is just watch what the really successful people do and model it. If they go somewhere, I'm going. Why? Because I'm just going to model what they do. They clearly think differently than I do because their business is reflecting it. And because they think differently, I need to start adopting a sort of mindset that they have. And so if I had the opportunity to go to a local event or to go global or to Sundance or something like that, I went. It wasn't that there wasn't, family reunions that didn't come up or birthday parties or all this stuff. No, of course. But I needed to start doing what the successful people did. And what they did was they figured out a way to DIA, do it anyway. So that was a really big shift for me. So that's number 10. Number 11, I wanted to get better with my skills. So I asked my coach to allow me to train as much as possible. So before Karen didn't really offer any training opportunities to me. Probably one, I had already quit my business up until that point once. I deleted her off her Facebook already twice up until that point. So probably she didn't want to reach out and offer. But one of the things that I heard that I knew is the successful people, the way that they got successful was they started taking leadership roles. And so I wanted to do that and I wanted to get really good. I basically wanted to use Karen's organization and Karen's team to practice on until I was strong enough to have my own. And so that's what I did. And so I just raised my hand all the time. When she would ask me to train, from my memory, I would try my best to do it, even though a lot of times I didn't want to do it. I was nervous, I was scared, all that stuff, but I wanted to practice my skills and to use her organization to practice my skills. What better way? So when I finally had my organization, that I would already, be sharpened, have a lot of these tools sharpened. So that's 11. Number 12, I started living off my calendar. If it wasn't on my calendar, I didn't do it. Before, I never lived like that. But now I started to live a very, very structured day. And so, that's just what it was. And if it was on my calendar, I did it. I was a slave to my calendar. If it wasn't, I didn't do it. So I started learning how to compartmentalize my activities on my calendar. And that's how it is today. But that was a new thing for me. I had to make an appointment with myself. I had to learn to date myself. I had to learn to be in business with myself. And so if I'm in business with myself, I need to start using my calendar and setting appointments with myself. I need to set an appointment with myself to do personal development. I need to set an appointment with myself to do health assessments. I need to set an appointment with myself to do trainings. I need to set an appointment with myself to have my mentor look over my business. I need to set an appointment with myself to have family time. Everything's got to be structured from here on out. And I didn't know that, but after that convention, I decided I need to become a slave to my calendar. If it is not on there, it does not happen. It doesn't get done. So that's number 12. Number 13, I decided it was okay to be nervous or scared, but it was no longer okay to allow that to stop me. I decided, number 13, I decided it was okay to be nervous and scared, but it was no longer okay to allow that to stop me. Oftentimes, I would close my eyes and press the send button, scared stiffless. And also, what I was doing before that is I used to hate talking on the phone. And so, if somebody would call me or they'd be ready to talk, I would say to myself, like, I would just like, I'll get back to you tomorrow or something like that. And when I made a decision that everything was going to have urgency towards it. So if somebody was ready to talk, I'm talking, like, let's go. I'm talking now. If somebody was calling me, I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm gonna call them back. It was time to talk to them right now. And I never wanted to do it. I hated it. I hated it. But I would say, okay, what do you want more? I want freedom. Okay, pick up that phone and just go. And I would be scared all the time. I'm still nervous today. I have a health assessment tonight. I don't know the person, but immediately my body wants to get nervous. But I know that nervousness is because I'm making it about me and I'm not making it about her. And so when I sit down and I say, okay, Jamil, this is not about you. This message that you're about to send is not about you. It is to save them or to free them. And all you need to do is just go on with the action and fall in love with this person's potential story. And so when I sit down with LaWanda tonight, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, okay, this is not about you. This is about her. How can you serve her? And now the anxiety and the nervousness goes away because I'm not thinking about myself. What am I going to look like? What am I going to sound like? What is she going to think about me? All right. Am I going to ask the right questions? Am I going to stutter? Am I going to stumble? Am I going to sound like I'm selling? All that stuff is ego based. People got to learn how to move outside of that. It's not about you. It's about her. So I need to start asking questions. What's going on with her? How is this going to change her life? All right, what is she going through? I wonder why she's been struggling. I wonder why she reached out to me. I wonder what's going on behind those curtains that nobody knows about. I wonder how she feels right now. How's she feeling? How's she living? What does she want? Now I make it about her and I move into a state of servitude, not in a state of ego. So anyhow, that was number 13. Number 14, I became excellent with client support, learning how to posture, build relationships with clients, and actually using my binder system. Before that, I didn't have a system that I was actually supporting my clients with. I was just doing it the way that Jamil wanted to do it. After convention, I was like, man, I need to get a lot more systematic. And I need to learn how to actually support these clients. I wasn't supporting clients before that. I was just letting them do whatever they wanted to do. I would sign them up and then I basically forget about them. And now I decided to actually support them. I actually decided to have client support days. Before that, I didn't have any client support days. After that, I made specific days to where I was going to be checking in with these clients for 5 to 10 minutes. My posturing was that I told them, look, we're going to do this together. We're going to rock this thing out. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to help you get better with all of these habits that you mentioned you were not great with. How's that sound? Okay, great. Weekly, let's jump on maybe Monday or Tuesday for 5 to 10 minutes and really talk about and celebrate the things you've gotten better with. And then let's pick out 1 or 2 things that we can continuously improve upon. And let's figure out a way how we can attack that. That sounds good? Yeah. Okay, great. So I do my client supports on Mondays and Tuesdays between 10 and 1. What 5 to 10 minute time slot looks good for you? And so I just started like supporting my clients like crazy. And then every single time I got on a call with a client, I had an agenda. There was 2 to 3 things that I wanted to have done on that call. So 1, I wanted to find out something new about them that I didn't know. 2, I wanted to move the relationship forward. 3, I might wanted to influence them by getting involved with the community, but there was always an agenda when I got on the phone. I didn't just get on just to talk. There was 2 to 3 things, maybe even 4 things that I wanted to have accomplished on that call. Before, I had no freaking plan. I wasn't even checking in with them. And I wasn't even using the system that Optavia gave us. So I decided to become an expert at client support. All right, so where are we at? You guys catching this stuff? You taking notes? All right, so number 15, I decided to become a master at systems and follow-up. They would be my best friends. What do I mean by that? Well, I would get off a health assessment and that'd be it. Half the time I wouldn't even offer the invitation. And if they weren't ready to get going, I had no system. I certainly wasn't using, I told you I wasn't using my binder. So I wasn't putting their health assessments anywhere. I didn't know that there was proper steps to take once I got off the phone with people who were not ready. And I never followed up. So after convention, I decided I'm going to get really, really, really good with these systems. I'm going to figure them all out. I'm going to learn them. I'm going to implement them. And I'm going to start following up like I care. So before I would follow up, but I'd be nervous about it, right? Because it's all about me and I'm trying to get them. Now I had a shift. And that shift was people who follow up are the ones that actually care. And the people that don't follow up, they don't really give a damn. Because if they actually cared, guess what they would be doing? They would be checking in on me, right? I'd be checking in on them saying, hey, I was just thinking about you today. Hey, I had you on my mind. Hey, you popped up in my thoughts. Hey, I have you on my prayer list. Hey, how'd that surgery go? Hey, did you have that appointment with your physician? What happened? Hey, did you talk to your husband? Hey, did you guys figure it out? Hey, we're having a community event. You want to roll through? The people that care actually follow up. So I started following up like a madman because I actually started to get to a state to where I cared. Before it was all about me again. Well, they're going to think I'm following up because I'm trying to make a sale. Well, they're going to think I'm following up because I'm trying to get them. No, I'm following up because I care. And so that was a shift for me. So I started doing it a lot. Okay. 16. This was a big one for me. I gave up watching and listening to things that were not helping me reach my goals. So before I was a big TV guy, I watched all the shows, all of the Sex and the Cities. I have, don't judge me, you guys, but I got every single season. I watched it. I did Sex and the City parties. I would invite my friends over. We had wine, all that stuff, right? I watched all the hills and the Laguna Beaches and the Real Worlds and all that stuff. I knew all of it. I was a big sports talk radio guy, big ESPN guy, Monday Night Football guy, sports guy, baseball guy, right? I watched all that stuff. I decided no more. Actually, last season for football, I think it was like the first time that I watched a Monday Night Football game in like 6 years. It felt so weird. I don't even think I made it through the whole game. But I just stopped doing that stuff. I would drive around. I would listen to sports talk radio all the time. And I just said, listen, if it's not helping me move towards my goals, I'm not watching it. I'm not listening to it. And so I cut all that stuff out. Just cut it out cold turkey. Even hanging out with some family members. Basically, if it wasn't helping me reach now my goals, then I didn't spend too much time with it. And it takes a decision to become laser focused. And so that's what I did. Even now, I don't even remember the last time I listened to sports talk radio. I just started replacing that stuff with, health assessments and making connections and picking up the phone and getting the word out, all that stuff. Any moment that I had was about trying to get the word out. And that's just how it was. And as soon as that happened, we started bringing on a ton of clients. Now, these next 3, all that stuff helped me move to building a huge client portfolio to where we were running 18, 19,000 frontline volume, right? To where we're carrying a huge frontline, carrying tons of clients, 80, 90 clients a month or something like that. But these next three, so that only got me basically to executive director, those things that I just shared. Yes, I had a ton of clients, but I only stayed at executive director and it was killing me. So these last three is what actually helped me get to global. Actually, those helped me get to global too. But once these shifts were made, this is when I went from executive director. I was executive director in January 2013. And by the end of March 2013, we were global directors. So we went from executive director, regional director, national director to global director in about 2.5 months. So these last three things is how that happened. You guys ready? Okay. So 17, I went to another training. And at that training, I understood, I knew that this wasn't a weight loss company. And I knew that we had more to offer. I just wasn't focused on it. And I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't have enough belief in it. That was a big problem. It was up to me to now have enough belief that when I spoke to people, they weren't sure, but they believed because I believed. And I spoke so candidly and so vehemently about it when I did talk. So number 17 was I simply decided to sponsor more coaches. I made a decision. I put my foot in the sand and I said, this is who I am now. I'm a guy who sponsors coaches. I'm not a guy who just brings on clients. My identity has changed now, that I'm a dude who just brings on a lot of coaches. That's just who I am. I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen it in here. It hasn't been produced yet, but it's been produced in here. So I just made a decision that I'm a guy who brings on a lot of coaches. And at minimum, I'm going to sponsor at least 5 coaches per month. Well, in those 2.5, 3 months, we sponsored over 35 coaches because I made a decision that I'm a guy who just sponsors coaches. This is just who I am. It's just like everything else that I do. It's just like breathing. It's like waking up. It's like brushing my teeth. These are things that I just do. That's who I am. So what's also part of Jamil is I also sponsor a lot of coaches. It's just what I do. So that's what I started doing. So I said I would sponsor at least 5 coaches a month. And how did I do it? Well, I did the exact same thing that I did once I decided I was going to bring on a lot of clients. I went and I got another whiteboard. Remember, that was like the first thing I said I did? Well, this is the same thing I did when I decided to sponsor coaches. I got a whiteboard and I wrote down the names of the people that I mostly wanted to influence. And then I got out a list, a huge list. And I started being intentional about the people that I thought coaching would make sense for, whether they were my clients, whether they were teachers from high school or college, whether they were old football teammates of mine, whether they were on plan currently or whether they were not. All these people went down on a list. And then I simply got good with my skills of approaching them, saying, listen, you're on my heart. I think you'd be awesome at this. I don't know where you're at life, but look, this thing has been revolutionary to me. I think you can go and impact a lot of lives. Would you like to talk about it? Would you like to explore it? How hard is that? How hard my son, he's 8, can do that? That's not hard at all. And so I wanted to build the skills on actually doing a proper health Coach Explorer call. So all I did was, listen and actually study when my coaches did it for me. I wasn't lollygagging, watching freaking Bravo or something while they're on the phone doing the call for me. I actually took a lot of notes. And I said, oh my gosh, Karen paused there. Okay. Karen said it like this. Okay. Karen did this. Okay. Karen offered the invitation like this. Okay. So I actually paid attention and studied that stuff. And then since I was setting up so many health Explorer calls, I naturally got better with the skills, but I didn't sit around now all of a sudden only doing 1 or 2 a week. Are you kidding me? I got intensely focused about doing a ton a week. which naturally allows you to practice more and to get really, really good at it. So whiteboard and list. I got really good at Coach Explorer calls and finding out what a person was looking for. This is number 18. I got really good at doing Coach Explorer calls and finding out what a person was looking for and missing in their life. Before, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to just, on the coach side, I knew how to do it on the client side, but I didn't understand yet and hear that it's the exact same thing on the coach side. All I need to do is find out what they want and what they're looking for. For some reason in my head, I made it this big, hard thing to where I've been doing it on the client side. I just be quiet and ask questions and find out what they're looking for, what they're struggling with, why they're struggling with, what they actually want. And for some reason, that was a big like boulder in the world to me to do it on the coach side. And then I realized it's the exact same thing. All I need to do is find out what they want, what they're looking for, what's missing, why they want it, why they haven't had it, what does it look for, paint a picture for me. And then all I do is explain to them how becoming an Optavia coach would help them fulfill those things that they're looking for. It's actually quite simple. And so now, because I started talking to so many people, I started naturally getting better with this skill, naturally getting better with it. So how did I start to become better with asking these questions? Well, I explained to you, one, I started taking a ton of notes when my coach modeled it for me. But I also started listening, studying Oprah, Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, and started paying attention to the questions that they asked to find out what other people wanted. So I would spend part of my day actually studying these people, right? Actually studying, listening for the questions that they would ask people as they're helping to awaken their intrinsic motivation. And 19, most important one out of this whole thing for going global, I simply learned how to inspire people. I set my intentions on how can I, little old Jamil, become the person that can inspire the socks off of people. So when they talk to me, and if they need that point, if they're at that point to where they need life to be breathed into them, that I can now become that person. I set my intentions on that. That was the main thing that happened that allowed us to go from executive director to global director. Is I brought on coaches, yes, but once I found out what they want, I now went into awakening them and having them believe that they could actually do it. Because before it's the belief system. One, they don't know they can do it. Two, they don't believe that they can do it. That's why they need a dude like me that can inspire them and almost do a Jedi mind trick and convince them that they can do it. That was it. I learned how to do that. I wanted to learn how to be a walking inspiration. That when people talk to me, if they needed this part of me to come out, it's like a superpower. If they needed that part of me to come out, that they could get it whenever they needed to. And so I started figuring out what people wanted. And then I decided to become the person that can inspire them, that they're actually the people that not only could do it, but they were called to do it. They deserve to do it. The main reason they're on this planet, their purpose was to get it done. And as soon as that happened, we hit global. As soon as that happened, it was crazy. People hit executive directors so stinking fast. As soon as I learned how to awaken their intrinsic motivation and inspire the heck out of them. Basically, everyone that hit executive director to help push us towards global, they all did it within 2 months of becoming a coach. Some of them did it in 3 weeks. So when you get to a point to where you learn how to look someone in the eyes and say, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You're meant to do this. You were uniquely born to do this. I'm so glad that you're here because you're going to do this. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to do it. Can you trust me? You ready to go? Let's roll. Once you get good at that, it's like the world opens up. It's so powerful. So how do I do it? I started listening to these people, these speakers, these people, the Les Browns of the world, the Earl Nightingales of the world, the T.D. Jakes of the world. And I stopped just listening to them. Now I started studying them. How are they so captivating? What do they do to get inside someone's soul and to inspire the heck out of them? And then I started practicing. I started thinking about the 5, 10, 15 people that I wanted to awaken. And I would literally stand up and get in the mirror and have conversations with them by myself. They weren't there, but they were there and here. And so I'm practicing on my skills of how do you awaken someone? I'm not just sitting around hoping that this stuff happens. Most of the stuff you have to learn to do. So that was a decision that was made. I would sit in my room back in those days, sit in the living room, and I would practice this stuff, practice actually awakening people. I heard once Kim Fisk used this with me, and she talked about reaching your goals and people being like playing cards. So I went out and I bought a deck of cards and I started using that to inspire people. I started practicing. We got to practice this stuff. It doesn't just happen. So start to practice awakening and breathing life into other people. If you can do that, once you get good at that with clients and coaches, pre-clients, pre-coaches, just get good at it. And you'll see how the world opens up to you. Because most people don't believe that they can actually be bigger and better than they are right now. It's a mindfulness thing. It's mindset. They're so weak in their mindsets and they're so used to life just being the way that life is. They don't think that more can be done, that they could do more. And so once you become the person that can actually awaken that and bring that out, it's called exegesis. You actually, you separate that, right? You bring that out of them and you show them that, no, dude, you're pretty awesome. You can do whatever you want to do. And you actually start to inspire them to do that. It's amazing. Okay, so a couple things, big mistakes I made. What are some big mistakes? I got a couple of them on here. One of my biggest mistakes was I tried to force my wife to become a coach and to do coaching with me. I shouldn't have did that. And I tried to force people who didn't want to coach. I shouldn't have did that. Wish I was smarter, but I wasn't. And what we did was severed some relationships. I wish I would have been wiser to leave space for them and to allow them to come if and when they ever wanted to. And I wish I could have been okay with that and not brought weird energy into the picture. See, I thought I needed a spouse to be really successful at this business, with building this business. And the truth is, you absolutely do not. And now what's the right word for it? My spirit wants to say bugs, but that's not the right word for it. It concerns me when people think you have to have a spouse to reach your goals in this business. You don't have to have them working in this business with you. What would be helpful is to have their support, but they can be supportive in lots of ways that don't actually require them to acquire clients and coaches or to work your back office or none of that stuff. What's important is that they understand that you're building something together, and maybe they support you in other ways, like, taking over washing dishes or doing laundry or taking care of the kids or stuff like that. But they don't have to be coaches. And I thought that that's what people needed to be, because I would see people walking across stage in couples, and I thought that's how it had to be. That was a big, grave mistake that I made. Another mistake was I blamed others for my lack of success. I blamed others for my lack of success. I didn't know how to take 100% radical responsibility. And so I blamed my wife I blame my clients. I blame my coaches. I blame my bosses at the beginning. I blamed my community. I would say things like, these people just don't have enough money, or I didn't think I was old enough. I thought to be successful as a coach, you need to be like 50 or 60 because people, your friends would, more likely be on medications. So I would say the people that I know are too young. That was a mistaken mindset. That's absolutely not true, but that's what I created to be true. So that limited me for a long time. I wish I didn't make those mistakes, but I did. I made a mistake. I didn't dive into personal development early enough. I really didn't dive into personal development until like a year, maybe like 10 months into my coaching journey. I wish that I knew from the very beginning to start not listening to, but studying, actively studying, becoming a student of people like Jim Rohn and I mentioned Earl Nightingale and so many of the others, Dr. Wayne Dyer and all these guys. I wish that I would have known to really dive into that earlier, but I didn't. But once I did, I gobbled it up. It was like I couldn't wait to grow. But I wish I would have did that earlier and not listen, but study. Study. There's a big, big difference, you guys. So hopefully you hear my heart with that. Another mistake was I didn't sponsor enough and focus on it earlier enough in my career. It took me basically 8 months to start sponsoring and building a sponsoring mindset. Now, I knew after convention that we weren't a weight loss program, and I did bring on a couple coaches, but it wasn't my main focus, and it wasn't really highly focused, and I didn't believe it. Not until about 8 months where I had that shift that I started thinking and really creating a list of people to bring on as coaches as well as clients. That was a big mistake. I think that I could have hit global probably in like 4 or 5 months instead of basically 10 months if I would have known that. So anyway, another mistake was I fought with my mentors and didn't just listen too much. I had this thing about me that I had to, give my opinion or let them know what I thought, or, think that they didn't know what they were talking about. And it didn't serve me well, but that was my personality, to where the ease of this business is literally just do what they say to do. And I fought with them so much. I deleted them off of Facebook collectively, probably about 5 times. I was crazy. I was nuts. It was just like a bunch of stupidity. Their businesses were like 10 times bigger than mine. And yet I was going to try to tell them what I thought was right. It's freaking nuts, but that's what I did. So I wish that I didn't do that. I wish that I could have been coachable earlier in the game, but I wasn't. And, that it was growth. It was all growth, to where, basically it's this easy. What's next? Okay. Tell me what to do. Okay. I go do it and I come back and I say, what's next? I would say, I wouldn't even say, kind of would say, what's next? I would do it when I felt like it, or I wouldn't do it at all. Or I would think that I knew more and try to change it. It was just nuts. But I did that. I wish I didn't do that. Things that I did well was my desire was just off the charts. I wanted better for myself, and I wanted better for others so badly that I barely slept. I was always almost shaking because I wanted it so much, and I cried a lot. I cried a lot because I wanted it so much, and my desire was just crazy high, just supremely high. Now it's high like that, but I've learned how to manage it. Before I cried so much because I didn't know how to manage it, and I just freaking wanted it, So that was something that I did well, that I'm so glad that my desire was so strong, because it forced me to push through all these things that are hard to do. I messed up a lot. I made a ton of mistakes, a lot of mistakes, But I also corrected those mistakes, and I corrected them fast. And that was something that I did very, very, very well. My goal was to see how fast I could screw up so that I can learn how to get better with it much quicker. Most people don't have that. Most people don't even want to make a mistake, but you're never going to learn or grow otherwise. And so after I came back from that convention, I was just like, all right, let's see how fast I can screw up so that I can fix it. And now I can grow and start reaching my goals. But most people won't do that. Another thing that I did well was I constantly sought out information and studied everything. I remember one time locking myself in my house for 3 days, and I told Amanda that I was going to become a master at doing health assessments and that I understand the cadence of this business step by step. So I just studied a lot. When people would sleep, I'd be studying. I would go into, at that time, we had something that looked like Simple Systems. Now we have Coach Answers, stuff like that. I just wanted to know the cadence. Okay, if I do this, then 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 I do this. Okay, if I do a health assessment, I'm going to do this, then I do this, then I do this, and then the systems and the systems. So I studied that stuff. I didn't wait for Karen to tell me. I'm just going to be honest. Most of the time, it was actually reversed. I would be telling her. Does this make sense? So you want to get to the point to where you become so stinking good at this stuff that you mentor your mentor. I hope you caught that. You want to become so stinking good at this stuff that you actually start mentoring your mentor. One of the best things I could ask for is that you guys start mentoring me, because that means, oh, you got on your game. And so that was something I did really well. The last thing was I was committed to my commitments. I was just very, very, very consistent after I left that first convention. Every single day, in every single way. Even when I was on vacations in Hawaii or Costa Rica or Puerto Rico, we went to a lot of different places. And I was still consistent with training my team, with reaching out to people, with making connections. And people would always talk crap, you guys. Like if you know, this is how you write a book. This is how you see some of the Facebook posts that I do, because people always had their opinions. And those people are literally still today in the same space that they were years ago, while we have exploded with success in every measurable area that you can imagine. And people always had their opinions about what was right. And now those same people will come to us for help, advice, and money, believe it or not. But back in the day, they had their own opinions about what I was doing. Listen, stay committed to your commitments. If you guys really want to go and blow this thing up, you got to be on fire daily. This isn't a once in every other day or when you feel like it proposition, not for the things that you want. Maybe if you just want to be senior coach, that's fine. If you just want to help a couple people, that's fine. But I know all of you guys that I've talked to that's come back from convention, all of you guys, all of a sudden, right, your goals are so big that, man, for us to make these things happen, a lot of you guys, we need to go global, integrated global, presidential, integrated presidential. I'm literally telling you what changed from 6 clients that I had when I went to convention to 10 months, 8 months later, we hit global. This is what it took. So a lot of people say, I want, these things. I'm telling you what it takes. What do? You go and you on fire about talking to a lot of people. You're going to get scared. You're going to get nervous. Say whatever. I'm doing it anyway. And limit the excuses. Some of you guys are you got your doctoral degree in excuses, right? There's always a reason. Everybody got reasons. I have reasons every single day as I was going to global and presidential director. You know who knew about them? Not too many people. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Just get it done. Just go. Some of us want to, there's always something. Always something. We all got something. We got to learn to limit these reasons and focus on the reasons that are going to propel you to become and to do the things that you want to do. So I hope this was helpful. And I got one person on here, Jama Young. I don't know who you are, my friend, but it was just you and me for the last hour or so. So, tag your teams, go back and review this again. I would go back and review this several times over the next couple months because you're going to hear it differently as you evolve and start helping more people. But these were basically the steps and, really working with my mentorship team. So I hope this brought you value. I hope it was an hour well spent. And I hope you actually study this and not just listen to it. Love you guys.